Happy Tuesday, everyone. It is Tuesday, August 20th. And I am here. I'm Lori Bradley, and I'm here for Lunch with Lori, our online class for today. But before we get to class, today's class is free to watch. You are welcome to stick around. And then if you place a $35 order, you will receive the card kits for free. And if you spend $50, you'll get a free embellishment, the card kits, and you'll be invited to my Fun Fold class in September. So that's another class to look forward to. It's also free. And you'll get those card kits in the mail as well. But I wanted to tell you about two sales that are going on this week right now. The first would be the Designer Series paper sale, which is going on through the month of August. And the Designer Series papers in the big catalog, in the annual Stampin' Up! Catalog, are on sale 15% off. So the packages that are normally $12.50 are $10.62. So that is a sweet deal. And then if you bought 5 packages, you would be invited to my Fun Fold class. Also, one of the biggest events in the Stampin' Up! Year for my customers is my buy one get one sale. Every year my ladies look forward to that. I put everything out. Anything that's retired goes on my tables, and I set that up here in my living room. So if you're local, you can shop in person Thursday night from 6 to 8 or Friday morning from 10 to 12. So everything will be out on my tables. Bundles, stamp sets, holiday items, Designer Series paper, embellishments, ribbon, old kits, anything that's retired I will be getting rid of. So you shop on my tables, and for example, if you spend $50, that's just going to be my number for today. If you spend $50, then you can choose $50 worth of new items from any of the current catalogs or online exclusives. So really, you pay for the new items and you get my old for free. But still, it's a buy one, get one. So it is, it's amazing. Usually there's a line at the door of people waiting to come in. A lot of you who are watching are not local to me. And so after my in-person sale, I will have an online sale in my BOGO Facebook group. I believe I'm going to do that next Monday evening. So that's Monday, the 26th. I have to put my glasses on. Yeah, Monday the 26th. I will do that in my online group. I will post the link to that group in case you're not a member. I don't post everything. It's a little tedious to post embellishments and gems and ribbons. But I do put my stamp sets and my bundles in there. So look forward to that. I will post the link for the Facebook group in the description for today's class, and I will post a reminder next week as well. Probably the end of this week, to remind people to go there to make sure you're part of that group. So today I'm going to flip my camera around, and we are going to make 3 cards that are a part of my stamp camp for next week. Next week I have a Share Your Face stamp camp, and it's going to be a little bit like Vacation Bible School. When you were a kid, you'll go home with, and I think there's probably going to be, there's 6 to 8 projects. I haven't fully decided exactly what those are yet. Well, most of them I have, but I haven't gotten finished yet. I haven't decided. I'm going to focus on 3 different stamp sets. I'm going to show you those this morning. If you'd like to sign up for my stamp camp, it's not too late. The sign up is due by Friday. I will post the Google link for that as well. Lots of good stuff today, but I'm going to show you 3 of the projects that we're going to make for the camp. So let me take care of my camera here. Look at the ceiling, my laptop for just a second. All right. So we have our 3 cards, and for this camp, the cost is $35 if you're in person and $40 if you are if you need it shipped, because I am happy to ship this wherever, and that you would get written directions as well as pictures and tutorials. So get written directions. I'm trying to get my laptop set up here so I can actually see comments. There we go. Sorry about that. All right, so everybody who attends the camp will receive a package of the Thoughtful Journey Designer Series paper, and it is so pretty. The colors are pretty, they're soft, they're like really pretty watercolor design. So everybody will get a full package of that Designer Series paper. A package of adhesive-backed Pearl Trio, which are also really pretty, and they're part of the Thoughtful Journey suite, so they coordinate with the paper. And also a roll of linen thread. Linen thread is one of my favorite go-tos. It's very easy, and then getting those taken care of. So then we are going to use 3 different stamp sets. Actually, let me show you these really quick so you know what we're looking at. We're using the Courage and Faith stamp set. We used this for stamp camp last year, and this was one of the $1 Million stamp sets designed by Natalie Travis. We're using this one, and then we are using Grateful Blessing, which is a new stamp set in the annual catalog. And then the other one is hiding underneath my kit over here. The You Are Beautiful stamp set, and it is also a $1 Million stamp set, and I'm going to be honest and tell you I can't remember who this one is, so I apologize if you happen to be watching, which I doubt, but anyway, if you happen to be watching, I'm so sorry. I will check that out and tell you all who made that one. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to start with the Courage and Faith card. This one is Mossy Meadow, and then the paper. My Distress Tile embossing folder, I believe I've loaned that out, so I don't have it. So for this card today, I'm going to use the Eyelet embossing folder so that it's not too much different, but it's enough different that you'll notice that it's not the same. All right, I have cut my Designer Series paper. Actually, I cut it this way. Got to match that up. And we're just going to use one side of it. But I brought the other piece over here because we're going to stamp directly onto our Designer Series paper, and you all know that can be a little scary. So I have cut this paper, and I'm going to stamp the top, the Be of Good Courage in Mossy Meadow ink. Like I said, we're going to just stamp that directly onto the Designer Series paper. I think all of these stamps are they're very pretty. I think the paper's pretty. I think anyone who receives these cards would think this is beautiful. I do have to move this closer to me because I only get one shot at stamping this, so I want to make sure that I get it where it needs to go. All right, so we've got that. Whew, thank goodness. It's a little nerve-wracking. All right, so I'm going to put that on the card front along with my embossed piece. And then I want a little bit of a panel, or a matte sort of look around it. So we want a little edge. And I have not cut my paper yet. It needs to be 5 1/4. And I wanted to make sure that my words were the focal point. So I'm going to cut 3/4 of an inch off of the bottom. And I stamped it first on purpose just to see how that would look. So I'm going to cut 3/4 of an inch off of the bottom to make it a 5 1/4 length. And then you can do with those scraps as you wish, or the back is just a solid color. And then some trim on the side. All right. So I'm going to use my liquid glue for my Designer Series paper because, you know, mistakes happen. That gives us a little bit of wiggle room. Last night I had somebody who got glue on their hands, and soap and water did not do so great. So if you have a great tip on how to get glue, the liquid Tombow glue, the green glue, off of your fingers, that would be super helpful. If you could put that in the comments, I'd appreciate it. And I'm going to go ahead and use the liquid glue on this one too, because it has a little bit of a bump. So super simple, just a piece of Designer Series paper with one little piece of an embossed panel, just to give it some texture. You could leave it like this. A lot of times I've done cards where we put a fold right here and we made it a book binding. This is kind of the same concept. except we're not going to do the book binding this time. We are going to just leave it like that. I didn't bring my white inside over here, but you get the picture on the front. Then we're going to take our linen thread and we're going to wrap it around. And you've all met me before, so you know that bows are not my thing. Remember, we've talked about this. So I'm going to wrap, we're going to make a fake bow, I think. All right, so I'm going to wrap it all the way around. That's why I put this one flat. If you wanted to raise this piece up on dimensionals, you could certainly do that and put this ribbon right around there. But I'm just going to wrap it around the whole card since it's a small thing. And I'm going to cut that. I'm not going to tie the bow yet. I'm going to wrap this around like this, and I'm going to tie the knot. Tie it tight. So I'm just going to tie a knot. So then I've got the little tails. Oops, and I made my paper all crooked, out of control. And then I'm going to do my usual, just wrap it around my fingers a couple of times, which I just find easier. You may be the perfect bow tire. If you are, I'm super happy for you, but unfortunately that is just not my thing. And then I'm going to use this piece that's the tail. And I'm going to tie that. So then we'll have a couple of extra little pieces. And then I am going to trim it just a little bit because that's a little bit too long. And there you have it. Simple card, beautiful paper, the words speak for themselves. All right, and I love the petunia pop in the sky. I think that's very pretty. So that's the first one. And again, you could use any embossing folder. I just happen to use the eyelet. Can you see that eyelet instead of the distress tile because I'm gonna throw my friend Sarah under the bus. I think maybe I loaned it to her. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where it is. So, but I think I let somebody borrow it. So, the next one, we're gonna use a different. We're gonna go blue from the paper this time, and we're gonna make sort of a fun fold. I have a half sheet of cardstock, and I have a white insert for this one, and then I've cut a sentiment piece. I'm also gonna use the Mossy Meadow ink again because the trees on this one are Mossy Meadow. But I've cut this from the Everyday Details dies, and one of my words fits really well with that. So I'm going to take my cardstock and I'm going to score it at 4 1/4 because that's half. So we're going to score that. Make sure it's the scoring blade. The scoring blade is a lighter shade and the cutting blade is a deeper shade, so it cuts deeper. So in case you need to remember, the deeper shade cuts, the lighter shade just scores. It goes in just a little bit. All right, then I'm going to cut 1 inch off of one side. It doesn't matter which side at this point. So I'm going to line that up with the 1 inch and I'm going to cut that off. So it's going to be, we're going to have an extra piece. And again, you can save that for another use that for something else. And then we're going to have a card that has an edge. So we have to cut our designer series paper. And for my sample on this one, I kind of cut the tree off on this side, but you can see that this piece flows into this piece. So it is exactly, this edge lines up with this. So if you scooted over just a little bit, then we could line up this tree a little more, if that makes sense. But so we're gonna make our vertical lines 4 1/2. So actually, I think I'm gonna get a little crazy, and so I need to cut 1.5 inches off. And I don't want to cut off all of that tree, and I don't want to cut off most of that tree. So I'm going to cut 3/4 of an inch off of both sides. Wish me luck. If this doesn't work, we're gonna have to dig out another piece of paper. And I'm gonna turn it around, and I'm gonna cut 3/4 of an inch off of this side. So then we have a little bit more tree. All right, now we need to make it 5 1/4. So we'll go with the top, 5 1/4, and we'll cut the bottom. Ta-da. Okay, now we have to divide it so that we can make it into 2 pieces that go together. So the front piece, this front piece is 3 inches. I'm going to confirm that before I do any cuts. Yes, and the inside piece is 1 1/2. So I'm going to cut this at 3 inches. And then we have 2 pieces. Get this out of the way. So our inside piece, this piece is going to go on the right edge of the inside panel. All of these are super simple. They look fancy by cutting off, cutting off the front of your card, but it's very easy, and your designer series paper is the star of the show. And I do love simple, where I can make it look fancy. If you like this paper, there is a fall paper coming in the new catalog that is the same sort of design, but it's in beautiful fall colors. So you can look for that to come out soon. I think it's going to be popular, especially if fall colors are your color palette. Those will be for you. Sometimes fall is not, those colors are not the ones I usually go for, but I think they're pretty. All right, and we'll go ahead and we'll put our liquid glue on the front panel. We're going to put that right on the front, and we've got the same margin around. You can see our trees on the inside, so when you can see that goes together. There's the edge of those petunia pop flowers right there. And so you could leave it like this. It could be a note card. This is your space to write, but I'm going to use my Mossy Meadow ink because that's the color of our trees. And I'm going to use a stamp from the Grateful Blessing stamp set, the You Are Loved, that perfectly fits in this design, in this everyday details circle. And I have to get this one right because I only cut one. I put such pressure on myself. There we go. All right, fits right on there. And then for this one, I'm gonna use my linen thread. I'm gonna tie a little piece through one of these circles, and it's tiny enough. The linen thread is tiny enough that it'll go perfectly through those circles, if I can hit the right hole. It's like threading a needle. If you're a seamstress, you know what I'm talking about. And I'm just going to tie the knot again. I'm just going to tie a little knot. Actually, maybe I will go ahead and tie a knot so that it stays put and I don't lose where I've laced it through there. Okay. So then, again, I'm just going to make a little bow. You can make it as big or as small or as thick or as many loops as you want. So now I have this little bow that I'm going to use this tail. It's kind of off center and it's on this side. Oop. And my little tail here is, luckily I already cut it, so we can just rewrap it around my fingers. All right, there we go. We will tie this bow. Make sure you got the right loop that you tie it through, or you're gonna not get your bow tied properly. I have 3 bows today on these cards. You all are gonna be like, oh my goodness, what was she thinking? Having trouble getting a hold of the linen thread. It's coming, it's coming. There we go. Oh. And I chose the wrong one. You witnessed it. You got to witness that I am choosing the wrong one. I thought today was going to be a good day. No, of course not. All right, let's try this one more time. Make sure I've got it. Got this loop. Wrap it around. We're going to hope for the best here. Whew. There we go. And then you can kind of manipulate that just a little bit so that it's down in the corner. And it's tied through there, so you don't need a glue dot or anything to stick on the back. You can just trim your edges, trim your tails. And we're going to put this on the front. And we're going to put dimensional. So we're going to dimensional it so that it is just this left side. So when I flip it this way, I need to remember where to put my dimensionals so that they are in the right spot. I'm only going to put dimensionals on about half of it so that I don't, because if I put it on the other side as well, those stuck together. If I put it over here, then our card will be stuck closed, and that is not what we're looking for. I'm going to overlap that just a little bit so that it's kind of in the space here. And again, looks fancy, the fancy paper, but it's just an easy one cut division. So, and actually I forgot, oops, I forgot to put gems on this one, so let's put some gems on our first card before I forget. They're all the same size, so you can choose whichever one, whichever color matches your paper. All right, so there's that card. Always makes me happy to bling it up. This one I'm going to use the blue, I think. And we'll do, remember the odd numbers. When you come to class, you have your own gems, and so you can use however many gems make you happy. You could even put one of these over the circles to make it go. All right, so there's card number 2. The other cards I've tried to use for the stamp camp all the colors of the papers, and I haven't used all of them yet. So that's my goal, is to use as many of those as I can. All right, so for this one, I have a pretty peacock base, and this one we're going to use the You Are Beautiful stamp set. So that's the 3rd stamp set. If you do this card, oh, I love this paper. I think it's so pretty. And Kathy, I think you are going to be super excited about that fall paper that's coming. That's kind of the same designs, but just a different color scheme. So we have our pretty peacock base. And the beauty is that this one's on sale right now. So, all right, so I've got my pretty peacock base. I'm going to set that aside. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp my words. And for this one, I'm going to say, You Are a Shining Light. I'm going to put that down in the bottom. Like I said, if you don't have all of the stamp sets for this one, it's okay. You can use any stamp set that you have. Any of these are versatile enough that you can put whatever sentiment you have at your house on there. All right. Now, this one's going to be a little different. I actually usually prefer the blue, but I'm going to go with this section so that it matches the pretty peacock. So I'm going to cut it horizontally at 3 inches. So I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to cut 3 inches. This is my extra. You can do whatever with that. Put it back in your packet because you may want to do this again. All right, now I'm going to cut this at 3 1/4 lengthwise. I'm going to cut it at 3 1/4, and again, extra piece. All right, now here's where the fun part happens. I have cut, and I'm going to leave it on this so you can actually see it. I've cut a piece of acetate, so the window sheets. I've cut a piece of that, and we're going to use that. And we are going to glue our paper onto here. But before I do that, I wanted to show you how it's going to work. We're going to cut 1 inch, 1 inch. And I just got to show you the right way because we have 1 inch, one side that's 3 1/4, and one side that is 3. So we're going to do this on the 3 inch side, and we're going to keep those pieces in order. So we've got to make sure that our seam stays intact. So there's 1, and then 2, and 3. and set it aside. All right, now we're going to line up one with the top edge. Now the paper is a little bit longer than my acetate. And actually, I'm going to lay this on a piece of cardstock so you can, actually I don't want that color. I think I want a different color so you can actually see. Maybe it'll be okay. So I'm going to take the top piece and put it at the top and the bottom piece along the bottom edge of the acetate. And since I cut my acetate at 3 1/8, there's going to be enough room for there to be a little bit of a gap in between. So first and foremost, we're going to go to the top and go to one side or the other. It doesn't necessarily matter. Just make sure when you go put them on that you do that all the way through. So the same, whether it's the left or the right side. All right. So we're going to put that along the top. Just make sure it's lined up with that top so that it's straight. And you can see the glue on the back, that's okay. But you can also see that it's hanging over just a little bit, and that's okay. That's what we want. And then we're gonna go with the bottom piece. This is called a floating something. So we're gonna make it look like these pieces are floating because they're on the clear piece. We're gonna call it floating strip. How's that? All right, then this one, make sure it's flush against the side and the bottom. And then we'll put our middle piece in and we can put it right in the center. And our scene will still line up, it's just going to have a gap right in the middle. So this one's just going to line up on the left and have a gap between. So can you see the gap? There's a little margin in between. And that's why I used the liquid glue so I could move it. Then we're going to flip it over, and you could use your paper trimmer or your scissors. I don't have my actual paper snips here, so we're going to use my ribbon scissors, which is probably wrong. And just go right along the edge of that so that we just cut off the pieces that are not on the acetate. So we have that. And then we can start putting our card together. So we're going to put this piece onto this pretty peacock panel. I don't want it to lay flat because we want it to look like it's floating. Like these 3 strips are just floating above that pretty peacock paper. So we're going to use dimensionals, and I think actually I'm going to use black ones because it's pretty dark. So let's use the dark ones so that they don't show through. When you do this, you just want to make sure that your dimensionals are right behind your strips, because otherwise, if you get them in one of the gaps between the Designer Series paper strips, you'll be able to see them, and we don't want that. We want to hide those. And I think the black ones were a good choice. I'm going to use the black ones for the inside as well. All right, so we'll put this on here. I have a little bit of liquid glue on my fingers, so they're sticking to them. And again, we're letting the Designer Series paper be the star of the show. We'll put that right there. So then we have our 3 strips. And then I'm going to set this aside for just a second, and it's time to wrap another piece. This one I'm going to do a little bit differently. I'm going to go ahead and use glue dots for this one. So I'm going to wrap the linen thread around twice so that I have 2 pieces. And then I'm going to cut it back here. And then we're going to tape those edges. Just regular old tape. Some people like to use adhesive for that. I'm a tape fan. There's my dimensional back that got stuck. When we were in Canada and we visited our friends who are also a Stampin' Up! Family, there was a big discussion among the men and the boys about where dimensional backs are found. Where have you found them? And Our Canadian friend was a police officer, and he found them in his office. We have found them in hotel rooms. I have found them in laundry. I have found them in shoes, many places. So what's the weirdest place you have found dimensional backs? That would be my question of the day. Okay, so I have a double layer of the twine. I'm going to just tie a bow. I'm actually going to tie it this time. I can never make bows the easy way, so let's just make it as crazy as possible. I like double layer. With the linen thread, I do like to do a double layer just so it gives it a little more substance, a little more substantial piece of ribbon. And did you know that you can color linen thread? I just heard that today. I color a lot of things. We colored ribbon last night, but it was white, and I just heard today that realized that you can color linen thread. So we might actually, I wish I thought of that before I taped that piece on, because we would color it. Actually, let's, you know what, I'll put it together like it is, and then I'll try it, and we'll see what we can do. I'm gonna use a glue dot. I'm gonna go ahead and put that piece right on the linen thread. It's best not to touch the glue dots because you get them all over your fingers. If you're a mom of boys like I am, it kind of reminds me of boogers. Can't believe I said that on the video, but that's what it reminds me of. All right, so we've got this piece, and the reason that I put that ribbon on first was because we're going to put this piece on dimensionals right over the top of it. And so I wanted that piece to be in place first. And I'm going to use the dark dimensionals again. Actually, I'm going to use these edge pieces that are cut so they're bigger. And that way, it stands up above our linen thread, and it won't pop off when you use regular adhesive. Just center that. You can always put your bow on last if you want. You could go ahead and wrap this piece and then put the bow on last so you know exactly where you want your bow. Leave it like that so it goes up a little bit over our panel, and then we'll put our panel on the front of the card. I'm going to do that flat with regular adhesive. Oop, there's one of those backs. And then we'll put this on the front. Okay, so we have 3 of the 4 cards, or 3 of the, not 4, 3 of, I'm not sure how many cards, at least 6, I think 8. I think we're gonna go with 8 this time, we'll see. Because the paper is so pretty, I wanna use it. 3 of the 6 to 8 cards that we're going to use for Sharing Your Faith Stamp Camp. If you are interested, like I said, I will put that link in the comments, and I also will, or you can get these 3 cards if you spend $35 in my online store, and you can get a pack of the gems along with that if you spend $50, so then you can bling your cards as well. Thanks for joining me today. I'm glad you were here. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I will look forward to seeing you all next Tuesday at 11:30. And I don't know yet what we're going to make next week, but we will see. So have a great week, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Thanks.